Today's lecture will be about China and the WTO. In this section, we will talk about World Trade Organization, or WTO, its relationship with China and the challenges it faces nowadays. As for this, firstly, we must make clear what's WTO. Generally speaking, WTO is the only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations. At its heart are the WTO agreements negotiated and signed by the bulk of world's trading nations and ratified in their parliaments. The goal is to ensure that trade flows as smoothly, predictably, and freely as possible. What are the principles of trading system? The WTO agreements are lengthy and complex because they are legal contexts covering a wide range of activities. They deal with agriculture, textiles, clothing, banking, telecommunications, government purchases, industrial standards and product safety, food sanitation regulations, intellectual property, and much more. But a number of simple, fundamental principles run throughout all of these documents. These principles are the foundation of the multilateral trading system. Let's take a brief look at these principles. Firstly, trade without discrimination. Second, freer trade, gradually through negotiation. Thirdly, predictably through binding and transparency. Fourth, promoting fair competition. Fifth, encouraging development and economic reform. Then, we talk about the relationship between WTO and China. Since China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, China has been committed to participating in various WTO agendas, proposing Chinese plans for the development of world trade, and contributing China's strength to the development of world trade. When protectionism and unilateralism were on the rise, and the WTO was facing an existential crisis, China put forward the principles, positions, policy recommendations, and propositions for necessary reforms of the WTO, demonstrating to the world China's determinations and actions to actively safeguard the multilateral trading system, contributing Chinese wisdom to the further reform of WTO. First, let's take a brief look at China's proposals and voices on the WTO Ministerial Conference. The 5th WTO Ministerial Conference was held in Cancun, Mexico, September 2003. The main task was to take stock of progress in negotiations and other work on the Doha Development Agenda. This is China attending WTO Ministerial Conference as an official member for the first time. We hold that agriculture is right at the core of a new round. The current stalemate cannot be broken, nor can overall negotiations be pushed forward unless developing nations with high subsidy, high support, and high tariffs make major and substantial reduction commitments. Negotiations on all the 3 pillars should proceed in a balanced way, Lü Fuyuan, the then Minister of Commerce of China, said on the conference. He also added that in the negotiations on other issues, due consideration should be given to the specific circumstances of different members, especially to the actual difficulties and positions of developing members. Priority should be given to the concerns of developing members. The 7th session of WTO Ministerial Conference in Geneva, Switzerland, took place from 30 November to 2nd December 2009. The general theme for discussion was the WTO, the multilateral trading system, and current global economic environment. At that time, the world had experienced an unprecedented financial and economic crisis, never met in a century. The global economy was showing positive signs of stabilization and recovery, but the deep-seated impact of the crisis still existed. China sent a positive signal to the world, a signal about openness, confidence, reform. As for openness, China held that if each member can reach consensus to continue to abide by WTO commitments, refrain from adopting protectionist measures, and adhere to policies of open up, we can gather powerful forces to overcome difficulties together. About confidence, China held that the negotiations of Doha round have not yet come out of the deadlock. But looking at the 60-year history of multilateral trading system, the wheels of free trade have always moved forward in adversary. As for reform, China held that WTO needs to continuously improve its rules, strengthen its own functions, increase its influence on other important international coordination mechanisms by necessary reforms. WTO needs to take a higher responsibility and play a greater role in global economic governance, taking the promotion of sustainable development as the direction of reform. When advancing trade liberation, it should allow developing countries, especially the least developed countries, to truly share the benefits of globalization. Also, WTO now has faced lots of challenges. The current economic structure of the world is undergoing profound adjustments. Unilateralism, protectionism are on the rise, and economic globalization has encountered twists and turns. What's more, the authority and effectiveness of the multilateral trading system have been seriously challenged. At the same time, the WTO own negotiations are progressing slowly, and the operational efficiency of the organization needs to be improved urgently. And the transparency of trade policies also needs to be strengthened. In this condition, China calls for necessary reforms to the WTO, helping the WTO resolve the current crisis, maintaining the multilateral trading system, and promote the construction of an open world economy. On May 13, 2019, China formally submitted relevant documents on the reform issues to the WTO. China proposed 4 key action areas for reform. One is to solve the key and urgent issues that endanger the survival of WTO. The second is to increase the relevance of WTO in global economic governance. The third is to improve the operational efficiency of WTO. The fourth is to enhance the inclusiveness of a multilateral trading system. China has put forward detailed suggestions on specific issues in the above-mentioned areas. China is willing to further exchange views with all parties on the proposed documents, jointly promote progress in WTO reform, reshape the authority and effectiveness of the WTO, and enable it to play a bigger role in global economic governance. As we all know, WTO appellate body is known as the Supreme Court of International Trade, and it is part of WTO dispute settlement mechanism. The dispute settlement mechanism is one of the 3 pillars of WTO, and is known as the jewel in the crown of WTO. It plays a key role in fulfilling the functions of the WTO. The outstanding feature of this mechanism is that it is independent, free from the interference of international power politics. WTO members, whether big or small, can obtain equal rights to appear or defend themselves under this mechanism. However, as some countries continue to obstruct the selection of the appellate body, the member of an appellate body was insufficient and paralyzed after December 10, 2019. After the appellate body paralyzed, the weakest economies will definitely suffer the most because their interests cannot be well protected. Although each member can continue to carry out dispute resolution consultations in accordance with WTO rules, without the deterrence of appellate bodies' rulings. Consultations will be more difficult to be restrained by reason, and political power will become more arrogant. In the next step, China will work with most WTO members to continue to work hard to resolve the crisis of the appellate body. At the same time, China is also starting relevant response plans, working hard to maintain the operation of WTO dispute settlement mechanism and defend the rules-based multilateral trading system. What's the influence it has on the rest of the world after China joining WTO? After China's accession to the WTO, the country has opened wider, allowing Chinese people to have a broader vision, getting to know the world in a more comprehensive level. And at the same time, it allows the world to know China better. In 2018, there were nearly 150 million Chinese citizens traveling abroad. In the past 10 years, China's outbound tourism market has continued to maintain double-digit growth, or even more than 20% growth. It has become the world's largest source of outbound tourists, and its tourism consumption expenditure ranks first among the world. The Chinese economy has opened up significantly, and the reforms have advanced steadily. China's accession to the WTO has made China further conform to the trend of economic globalization. This has not only changed China, but also profoundly affected and reshaped the rest of the world. In 2018, China's contribution to the world economic growth was 27.5%, an increase of 24.4% from 1978. At the same time, China has grown into the world's second largest economy, only second to the United States. It is also the world's largest trading country and the second largest foreign investor country. In the 20 years of China's accession to the WTO, China has handed over a gratifying answer to the world. China benefits from economic globalization, but also makes great contributions. In the past few years, after its accession to the WTO, China has followed the WTO's concept of free trade and demonstrated its role as a major power. At the second China International Import Expo 2019, China provided 2 free stand booths for the 40 least developed countries participating in the enterprise exhibition to facilitate their communications with the Chinese market and share with them Chinese opportunities. From January to September in 2019, China's total imports and exports to countries along the Belt and Road route amounted to approximately $950 billion, and most of these countries are emerging economies and developing countries. How do the WTO leaders think about the performance of China? In 2011, 10 years after China's joined WTO, a Chinese reporter asked Lamy, WTO Director General at that time, how is the world trading system different before and after China joined this big family? Lamy said, it has completely changed. China's accession to the WTO 10 years ago not only changed many things in China, but also many things in the world. The fact is that the WTO has always dreamed of becoming a global trade organization, and China's accession means that the WTO has taken a big step towards this dream. Through reform and opening up, China has achieved great trade development, and this development has brought tremendous changes to the flow of world trade and trade patterns. On the eve of the opening of the G20 Trade Ministers meeting in Shanghai in 2016, Roberto Azevedo, the then Director General of World Trade Organization, received an exclusive interview on the role played by China, the challenges facing global trade. He said, China has always supported multilateral trade and play a very constructive role in WTO negotiations. For example, when the WTO promotes trade facilitation agreement, China is a major participant, speaking freely and very actively. In the ministerial meeting, China is also a major participant, helping us to smoothly cross the finish line in the spring phase. He added that he has many dialogues with many high-level officials in China, and he has nothing to complain about the dialogue with China. He only thanks China for its efforts. The State Council Information Office published the white paper on June 8, 2018. The white paper emphasized that China has faithfully fulfilled its WTO accession commitments and firmly supports the multilateral trading system. The white paper has also emphasized that China's accession to the WTO has made an important contribution to the world. From joining the WTO to the joint construction of the Belt and Road Initiative, China has become open-minded and embraced the world. It has made significant contributions to promoting the development of the world economy and trade and increased well-being of global people, and has become a stabilizer of world economic growth. The white paper mentioned that in face of the economic globalization, full of twists and turns, China will unswervingly expand its opening to the world and achieve broader mutual benefit and win-win results. Finally, the white paper concluded that China will use greater strength and high level of opening up to promote global common development. China is willing to work with global trading partners to promote economic globalization toward a more open, inclusive, balanced, and win-win direction. Let us do a quiz to refresh what we have learned. And let's look at the answer. Is your answer correct? That's all for this lecture. Thank you.